How was your faith during, in my relationship, it was very hard for me to understand why God had made me like this and why I had to face my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how was your faith while you were in, discovering who you were?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel?
Well, I've sort of been stronger and weaker in faith, and I don't necessarily identify with a particular faith right now, although I have to say, if I end up going in the direction of Christianity, it'll almost certainly be the Episcopal Church. But I do feel like that moment when I knew I was going to transition, I feel like that was the Spirit of God moving in my life, in response to my asking for help and saying, this is the direction you need to go. And this year has been absolutely incredible, and I've sort of had a spiritual reawakening. I had chest surgery over the summer, and Mom came and helped take care of me. Mom and Dad both came. And Mom did a lot of healing touch on me, right after I had surgery. And I'd always trusted that when Mom asked God to help me, that God would be there. And I hadn't ever, really felt comfortable, except in those moments when I was just absolutely desperate, asking God for help on my own behalf. And a few weeks after Mom and Dad had gone home, I was in the car driving back from a couple-hour trip. I'd gone to a business meeting, and I was talking out loud to myself, to God, in the car. And it just dawned on me, because I'd been thinking about what that felt like when Mom was doing that for me. And, how I feel like the work she did healed me in more than just physical ways. And I just kind of was blubbering in the car because I realized that God was with me and God would hear me. That was pretty awesome. It's humbling and empowering at the same time. I'm sure some of you guys know how hard it is to express. So yeah, and there's been other things that happened since then that I'm just like, wow, God is great. And God is looking out for me.
I want to say something about that too. That, to the extent that God is love, which is a big extent, by the way. I have seen, since the transition, so much more love coming out of you and your ability to receive love both. I mean, if anybody, would say, well, this isn't the right thing for you to do, well, the way that you love, the way that you relate to people, the confidence that you have, the fact that you're so much closer to your family and to your friends, that can't be wrong, ever. It's just wonderful. And it is faith, it is spirit. And why it took this particular path, who knows?
Noah, is there anything specific that moved you at this particular time to share your journey?
Well, we talked about this once before, but normally I'm only home on holidays, and that's not really a good time for it. And did the idea come from one of you guys?
We've been throwing it around. I don't know how it started,
But yeah, Mom had mentioned to me that there was interest in doing something like this, and I'm involved with the Speakers Bureau at the University of Michigan, which is an organization run out of the Spectrum Center, the LGBT center on campus. And so I go around to classes and different groups just ask for panels, and it's a volunteer thing. I'm fortunate to have a boss who will let me run off and do it on work time, so I'm doubly blessed there. And so I'm totally comfortable sharing. I tend to overshare, really.
And I had decided when Noah transitioned, this was just a personal decision, that this is something I was going to talk about. I wasn't going to keep it a secret. It was just going to be part of my life, part of my conversation, part of my relationships with my friends and family.
And that means a lot to me, because I think a lot of people, parents really go through a grieving process with the transition, and I think there's a tendency to let that fear of what are other people going to think, turn into what are other people going to think of me, what are other people going to, for them to take some of that homophobia and transphobia onto themselves and to not talk about it with people and to not share it with family and friends. And to really, it's very hurtful to the people who are transitioning, because it says, I'm ashamed of you, every situation I know of, people have eventually come to accept, and it just takes different amounts of time for different people. But it's hard for parents, and I know that. I recognize that.
Any other questions? Yeah.
You may have said this already, because I was a little late coming in, but does insurance pay for anything with your transitioning? Pay for anything?
My transition has been completely provided for. I am very, 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 very fortunate in that respect, because most insurance plans do not cover it. That is my good fortune for working at the University of Michigan, where there's a lot of support and a lot of actually my surgery as of this year was covered, and so we knew it was coming, and I just waited until this year to do it. So that was it's all just happened. I mean, you want to talk about God, I just feel like God's just been paving the way for me, and that if I don't take that and use that to make a difference for other people to have the same experience, that I'm just throwing away my blessings.
Well, that seems like a good way to conclude, because it strikes me that no one goes through a unique story like this without coming out on the other end with unique gifts. And you have gone through something that gives you some insight, some intuition, some charity, some love. You can see and feel and understand things in ways that other people can't, and that you see and claim that in order to give it away and to serve others. I think excites me as your role in ministry in the world will help God in that whole process of trying to bring healing to the world, and you have special gifts just because of what you've lived through and what you've suffered, and now what you claimed. Delighted that you've come to share your stories with us, and I know I certainly feel good about being able to hear that and to hear that in this context. And thank you all for coming.